Some of us have heard that in marriage, women need to know that they're loved by their husbands, while men need to know that they are respected by their wives. Well, Nina ROESNER is challenging us wives to a dare, a 40-day respect dare. Welcome, Nina.
Hi, it's good to be here.
So you start off your book talking about how you haven't been pleased with the way that women have been challenged to serve their husbands. Explain this to me.
So there's a lot of variance in the communication in the church. So you have everything over here on this side from, I'm a doormat, basically, do whatever he says, he's your God.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that's how it plays out, to I am woman, hear me roar, let me set my bra on fire. I mean, so healthy and biblical, I think, is somewhere in the middle where we're equal heirs, where we're a team. And there's respect that's given both ways because women understand who they are in him, which is hugely important because without that, our respect means nothing to him.
And so that's the reason why you wanted to write this book, essentially.
Yeah, to help with that. And actually, I didn't really have any intention of becoming an author. And God poured this out of my heart in like a month.
Wow.
So yeah, I can't really take credit for it.
So what are some mistakes that us wives make when it comes to being there for our husbands and making sure that they do feel respected?
One of the things is we understand respect in this culture as a thing that's to be earned. And the word is very specific about that. It says that the wife should respect her husband. And that's Ephesians 5:33b. It doesn't say, if you feel like it or if he earns it or anything. It's a command, basically. And we're supposed to do it regardless.
And so 40 days of this challenge that you give wives. And what is the hope? What happens after 40 days? What's your hope?
Well, honestly, the book deeply connects women to God first and helps them understand some things about themselves. And then on top of that, improves their relationships with their husband and others, honestly.
Okay, so let's go through some of these dares. Expectations, and this was huge. Releasing expectations we place on our husbands and expectations we maybe should put on ourselves. I remember once being at a women's retreat, and we were praying, and the speaker had said, so many of us put expectations on our husbands that only God can fulfill. That's essentially what you're saying?
Yeah, basically. We expect him to be perfect and Jesus. And
we have the Hollywood image, right,
Exactly.
of Brad Pitt, who's always perfect in every movie.
Yeah, and then you've got the Hollywood or the Christian image of James Dobson. I mean, I thought my husband was going to be James Dobson, right?
Okay.
Because he's supposed to do all these things because he's a Christian man, right? Yeah. Sorry, that's too much pressure for anybody, right?
So how do you make sure that you still have expectations for your husband, but they're not?
Yeah, there's a difference between expectation and hope.
Okay.
And a realistic desire to work through stuff. So expectation is essentially, I expect you to behave at this level all the time, be perfect, all these things. And really we need to set those aside because we, like you said, we've created that out of culture. And then on top of that, we need to look at, okay, ourselves. Who am I focusing on? I can't change his behavior. I'm not in charge of him. That's between him and God. I can only really do anything about my behavior. So what does God expect from me? What's reasonable for me to expect from myself in this marriage? And then there's hope. Because we are to represent Christ in the church. And if we can do that well, then the world's going to see him. We need to look different.
That's good. Another one is childhood, how we bring our unresolved conflicts and issues from our childhood into our marriage. That's a big one.
It's huge. And there are so many things that we either did or didn't learn as kids. How do we do conflict? Did we ever see our parents do conflict? And what does our behavior look like when he hurts us? Do we have compassion? Are we gentle? Are we harpy and mean? How do those things play out? Because what happens to us as little kids, those memories become associative tools for which we then just naturally react in the middle of the moments that we're in now. And so if we don't work through those things and continue to work through those things like for our whole life, then what happens is we're behaving in ways that aren't healthy and aren't Christ-like. Yeah.
And as I think about that as a parent too, you know, I hear a lot of parents say, oh, I don't fight in front of my children, but then your children never learn how to resolve conflict. And then you're not doing them a favor, because when they enter into a relationship, they don't know how to actually deal with these issues, and it creates a bigger storm.
You are absolutely right. And that is a huge issue. One of the things that our kids need to see modeled is how mom and dad can have a disagreement and then work through that in a way that's healthy and represents God. You know, there's Dr. John Gottman out of Seattle. He does a ton of research on relationships, and he says that in a healthy relationship, you have 20 positive interactions to 1 negative. During conflict, you have 5 to 1, and that's if you're a healthy couple. So even during conflict, there's those moments where it's like, are you okay with what I just said? You seem something. And they're gentle, and there's, you know, intimacy there that's sweet. Yeah.
This one really resonated with me, and I can't find it right now, but I do remember off the top of my head, sometimes as women, we treat our husbands like children. We don't treat them like the men that they are. And that is probably one of my biggest pet peeves, is when you ask a woman, how many kids do you have? And you say, well, are you including my husband?
Right.
And that just must, when we talk about respect, that just must diminish a man that hears their wife say that.
Yeah, and if we look at the flip side of that, would we want that said about us? Yeah. You know, and if we're going to esteem somebody highly, then they're going to live up to that more likely than if we damage them by diminishing them, like you said. It's huge, and it teaches our kids, whoever's around us. I mean, it's a bad reputation that we give him, and it also communicates negative thought about him, which as Christian women, Christian wives, you know, we need to be building people up with our words instead of tearing them down, whether they're present or not.
Especially our husbands.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Nina. The name of the book is The Respecter, 40 Days to a Deeper Connection with God and Your Husband. You have a website?
Yes, greaterimpact.org is where you can find out more about our training.
Awesome. And you can get this book on our e-store. Just go to our website and click on the e-store button. Stay with us. We'll be right back.